Hello everybody, it is Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome. Welcome back to another video over here on That's Comical. And if you're watching and it happens to be a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Well, I know that I'm a little late to the party here, and as far as I can tell now, being that we are now 1 week since Thunderbolts opened in theaters, chances are I will not be seeing that movie in theaters at this point in time due to time and, unfortunately, budget constraints. I would at least like to try and bring a discussion about something that's comic book related outside the pages of the books to you, and thankfully I finally managed to finish watching probably the most anticipated project for Marvel on the small screen, and that was the return of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as Daredevil and the Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk, back to the small screen in Daredevil Born Again. A show that so many people were excited for because before Marvel decided to be featured on Disney Plus, they had a very successful stint on Netflix with the four Defenders characters, all having their own shows and then eventually getting together on Netflix for a show that features them as the Defenders. So, of course, I'm talking about Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. And those were definitely a cut above in terms of content, and most likely a little bit in the quality department, just because of the fact that even though they were on a lower budget, they definitely focused more on the stories, on character development, and I loved the fact that they really didn't hold anything back in terms of the violence. So when they announced that Daredevil was going to be back in a brand new series that was actually going to be much longer than the previous Marvel series. I think when it was first announced, they said it was going to be 19 episodes, which I think is very exciting. And more importantly, knowing that they did get Charlie Cox back to play Matt Murdock. He is a fantastic actor. I remember discovering him in Boardwalk Empire from HBO, and knowing that he was coming back to play this great rendition of Daredevil made me very excited. But then things started to go astray. There was rumors that things weren't looking good, and then of course there was the way he was portrayed in She-Hulk, and then there was the small stint that he had in Echo, where a lot of people were very upset with how the fight was choreographed very, very poorly compared to the Netflix show. And then, of course, the big bomb that was dropped was the fact that they literally had to pull the whole show and start from scratch because of the fact that it was just not looking good. So after months and even years, Daredevil Born Again finally came to Netflix, its first 9 episodes, and it was okay. I mean, it definitely was weak compared to the Netflix show, and its weakest piece was its writing. I thought the story was very long-winded and very convoluted. There were so many pieces of it that just didn't make sense. I mean, there were parts of it that I know they took from the comics in recent years, specifically the Devil's Reign storyline that literally happened less than 3 years ago, where Wilson Fisk becomes the mayor of New York City, and he makes masked vigilantism illegal, so it's a war between the superheroes and the New York City government. And the story itself was not great either. So the fact that they were pulling from a mediocre story to give us what turned out to be, at least for me, a mediocre television show is not one of the best things that Marvel needs right now, considering how horribly they're struggling. Captain America Brave New World did not do what it was supposed to do in the box office, and that went through a massive amount of postponement and rewrites. Now, at the end of the day, I personally thought the final product was good. I actually enjoyed the movie a great deal. It was not the best movie I ever saw from Marvel. Those days seem to be very much long gone, but I didn't think it was a terrible movie at all. But Daredevil, the highlights of the show for me, without a doubt, is the acting, minus a few points where I felt that Wilson Fisk came off as a bit of a jealous crybaby, and I think you all know what I'm talking about. But Charlie Cox was perfect. I loved his performance as Matt Murdock. I was glad that at least before the show ended, we got to see him more as Daredevil, because the one thing that I never appreciate about Marvel shows, especially the ones from Disney Plus, is that we see less of the superheroes being superheroes and we just see them underneath the mask. That was one of the main criticisms that I personally had for the Moon Knight show. There was not enough Moon Knight. Just Oscar Isaacs playing the character of Mark Spector without the mask. I didn't like that. I need more superhero. For a superhero television show, that's what you should have. But thankfully, we got a lot of Daredevil in the last 3 episodes. We also got a big surprise, even though I think it wasn't really much of a surprise. But I thought it was great to see Jon Bernthal back as Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, because the Punisher is such a fan-favorite character. And that's a character that seems to have been very much criticized over the last couple of years due to a lot of political things that we're not going to get into right now. But I thought that they did Frank Castle very well in this story, and I loved where this story seems to be going. I also loved Bullseye being on the show. It was nice to finally get another Daredevil villain, because I was getting a little bit sick of Matt Murdock versus Wilson Fisk. I was really starting to get annoyed by it because it was becoming so stale. So I will definitely say, through all the faults of the first season of Daredevil Born Again, it left me excited for more. That's the one thing that I'm very happy to say. And I will definitely be checking out the second season, because there was one little thing that was really bothering me in a good way. And I'm wondering if any of you actually noticed it too. In the last episode, in some of the quieter moments, if you listen very carefully, the song that is played in the background is the Spider-Man theme song from the last 3 Spider-Man films. I don't know if any of you noticed that. If you did, leave a comment in the box below saying you heard that too. What does that mean? Are we going to see Spider-Man in Daredevil? I would personally love to see that happen. I would love to see Tom Holland on the small screen playing alongside Charlie Cox and Jon Bernthal, especially considering the fact that Charlie Cox did make an appearance as Matt Murdock, not as Daredevil, but as Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home. So that was pretty awesome, because that's the truth. Spider-Man and Daredevil and the Punisher, they really do go hand in hand. They have been in many comic team-ups together, and the best part about those team-ups is that all 3 of them have a very distinct way of providing justice to the unjust, and their methodology clashes all the time because of the way that they do things. So it would be really cool to see these 3 characters butt heads. I would love to see Tom Holland on the small screen, because I think that he would add, as Spider-Man, so much more to the Daredevil show. And I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with Wilson Fisk. I'd like to know if we're going to see any more Daredevil villains, and I'd like to see, now that apparently we know what happened to Bullseye, what's going to happen moving forward. Will Elektra come back? There's a lot of what-ifs for the next season of Daredevil. And I'm really hoping that Marvel capitalizes, because a lot of people flocked to their televisions to watch Daredevil Born Again. And a lot of people did not say good things, but a lot of people did say some good things. So there's potential to have this be extremely successful, and there's potential for this to go horribly wrong. And Marvel has been going horribly wrong. Way too often these days. They need to redeem themselves. They really, really do. So I would say definitely, if you want to watch Daredevil Born Again, go for it, especially if you were a fan of the Netflix show. I don't know how you'll feel about it in the end, but once again, it had me wanting more. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Leave your comments in the box below. Let's discuss Daredevil Born Again, and I will see you in the next one.